Hello, everyone, and welcome to Beyond the Home Study. This is a podcast for parents, especially those who have adopted or done foster care or are exploring those two things. We are here to help you navigate the world beyond paperwork and placement. Thanks for being here. We have a great interview for you today, so I will kick it over to Laura to get us started.
Yeah, you guys, we have another guest, and I feel like it has been a minute since we've had a guest. So I am excited. We're going to interview Valerie Marble today. She is a CEO of A Step Ahead Adoption Services, which is not an adoption agency. She will tell you more about that in a minute. And then she is also a newly published author, and her book is called Living Through the Journey. And we are so excited to hear from her. Um, yeah, and so I'll tell you a little bit about how we're gonna do this, but first, let's just say hey to Valerie. Valerie, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you 2?
We are
Doing
here.
good. Yeah.
Good. Thanks for having me on. I'm super excited about this. I'm excited for our chat.
Yeah, we are so excited too. Can you tell us where are you in the world?
Yeah, so I'm in Midwest Kansas, in a very small town called Almena. Probably never heard of it.
Can't say that I have.
Nope. Very cool.
Very cool. And you are a mom of 3, right?
Yes, yep, I am. Our oldest, he is 8, and we adopted him through foster care. And then our second, he is getting ready to turn 4 this Saturday. Very
Oh,
exciting time in our household, party planning, all the things.
Okay, wait,
uh,
Abby, yours just turned 4.
yes. My son just turned 4 too
And
last
oh,
mine's
week.
about to turn 4 in like 2 weeks.
oh my goodness.
Yeah, we're all so close. That's
Um,
awesome.
and boys, yeah, wow, that's
Yeah.
No,
awesome.
wait,
No,
what? Mine's the
your
girl.
daughter.
It's my
Oh,
daughter, yeah.
nice.
I'm
Well,
like, "What
very cool.
happened 9 months ago?" Like, we had all the
Yeah.
babies.
I
Uh,
know.
Was it February? I don't know.
Yeah, so that's Jet. He's gonna turn 4, and we used a step ahead for his adoption. And then our youngest, Lennon, she is 16 months now, and we used a step ahead for her adoption as well. So
So cool. I can't wait to get into it and just yeah, learn more about how it all came together and your journey. I know that it's been a unique journey to get to where you're at. So excited to
Mhm.
hear about that too.
So before I tell you guys about how we're gonna do this episode, side note, Lennon was, like, top of my name list. I love that name.
Oh,
Love it.
it's so
Like,
Yeah,
cute.
so cute.
that was our name for our girl for like the last, I don't know, we had it picked out 10 years before we ever even had a girl. It was always a
It's
thing.
a good
So,
name. That is a good name.
mhm.
Okay, guys. So how we're gonna do the episodes a little bit different. Today, Abby and I are gonna play like prospective adoptive parents. Okay, and Valerie is gonna answer all of our questions. And so, if you are listening to this and you maybe haven't adopted, or maybe you did foster care and you're considering private adoption, or you don't even know what adoption is and you're just a friend of ours. That's great. Thanks for listening. But we want to get all of your questions answered. And so we're just going to throw out some questions that we commonly get from you guys, and maybe some that just come up along the way. So that's kind of our plan for today.
Very cool.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Sounds
Abby, you
So,
want to get
great.
us started?
yeah. Well, okay. I know that that's where we want to go, but I just real quick, I want to, because I mean, this really is a question a lot of people have, but what even led you to adoption in the first place? Let's kind of start there, and then you can kind of tie in how you got to your position of CEO. But just so that people get
Yeah.
kind of around, full picture, full circle picture of who you are.
Yeah, perfect. Um, I feel like there are a lot of people that probably start out here to pursue adoption. But my husband and I experienced infertility. We went through a few rounds of IVF and didn't have any luck with it. And, we were kind of at a point where we were like, we just want to be parents. We don't care how it happens. My mom, she is adopted. And so adoption has kind of always been a part of my family. I've never really thought twice about it. It's just normal. And so when we decided to start pursuing adoption to grow our own family, it just seemed natural. So yes, we started out on the long adoption journey. We did our home study, all the things. We started out pursuing private domestic infant adoption was our goal. And long story short, there were other plans for us. Apparently, our son Harlan, he actually pretty much fell into my lap. I used to be a healthcare worker. I worked in X-ray, and so I actually met him in the hospital that I worked at. And he was about 16 months old at the time. And so, long story short, we brought him home. We were able to kind of shift gears and specifically pursue foster care for him. Went through probably about a year and a half of all those hoops, all the things, and then ultimately we're able to adopt him. So that was in
Okay, so
July.
wait, I'm gonna interrupt you really fast. So
Yeah,
you instead of like doing foster care and then getting placed with a child, you had the child and then did foster care. Is that right?
we did it all backwards. Yes.
Okay, just making sure I'm tracking. Okay.
Yep, yep. It worked out for us. We were able to take placement of him since we did already have a home study of some sort done. It wasn't foster care.
Mm.
But we went ahead and did, the 10-week course, all of that after the fact. So it's kind of all backwards, which is unusual. So yeah, that was in July of 2018 when we finalized his adoption. After that, we decided to pursue adoption again. We reached out to a consultant this time, which was a step ahead adoption. Got started with them. My husband and I were a very lucky couple who got chosen by an expectant mom on our first profile showing. That does not happen all the time. I don't want to set anybody's expectations too high because that's not normal.
Mm.
But we did get in, and it was a short match. I was in September, and our son was born November 8th of 2021. And so that's Jet. We traveled out to Washington and was there probably about 5 hours after he was born. Got to spend time with him in the hospital, and then went back home to Kansas. And a few months after that, um, I reached back out to the consultant we were working with. She was the owner of A Step Ahead at the time. And I was ready to get out of the healthcare career. I wanted something slower paced, and being able to stay home with my boys was top priority at that time. So I started working as an adoption consultant with ASA and worked with families for about 3 years. And then in January of 2024, the previous owner approached my husband and I about purchasing the company from her, which was a shocking phone call to say the least.
I bet.
Yeah, it was kind of a dream that we had for 5, 10 years down the road, not like now. But everything happens when it's supposed to. So we with that in April of 2024, I officially became owner of A Step Ahead Adoption and have been working with families. It's kind of been our goal this last year to provide better education for our families, specifically on like transracial adoption, substance exposures. Those were two really big things that my husband and I were not necessarily uncomfortable with, but we just didn't know a lot about it going into adoption. So I know it's very important for families now. So we offer it to everyone who works with us. But during that time too, we were pursuing adoption for third and final time. Um, I really wanted a girl, so we had to go back for the third time. Finally convinced my husband. And so our daughter Lennon was born in July of 2024, and now here we are.
Wow.
Wow, that's crazy.
It's such a crazy
Yeah,
journey. I
so
remember, like, when we first connected with you and just, like, reading your story and seeing, like, yeah, this was a dream we had 5, 10 years down the road, not today, but here it is. I thought that was
mhm,
amazing, like, totally out of nowhere, but also a dream you had. Like, I just think it's cool how the timing works out. So, it's exciting.
Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the Home Study. If you've been enjoying the show, we'd love it if you could take a quick moment to leave a 5-star review and share this episode with a friend. These are the best ways to help more families find these conversations and join our community. You really do have a crazy story. It's kind of like to me, I'm, like, thinking through it all, and everybody that comes on here has, some unique spin, to their story
mhm,
and how they, went about adoption and all of that, and it's always so fascinating. It's interesting that yours also has, like, a career turn too.
mhm,
Like, it's, like,
yes,
this personal, but it's also this, like, professional and, like, it's woven into, like, your whole story, and then not
mhm,
to mention, like, you've now written a book.
mhm,
So I
yeah.
can't even your, like, whole life is like adoption.
It really is, which is great. I mean, it's unbelievable that I get to wake up every day and this is my life. Like, it's a true gift. And I feel like too, I kind of skipped over this, but when we were pursuing adoption for a third time for our daughter, before we had her, we actually had a failed placement, probably about 6 months before she was born. And it was like right during the time that I was taking over ownership of the business. And so, I kind of just told myself, like, yes, everything happens for a reason. Like, this is being put in my path. So I can understand how it feels because, until you go through a failed placement, you really can't relate. Like, you can say, yes, I'm sorry, like such a bummer type of deal, but you really don't understand how it feels until it actually happens to you. So I'm just kind of chalking that up as something I needed to experience in order to be like a better consultant for our families. I don't know if that's right or wrong. That's just what I tell myself.
Yeah, well, I mean, I do think, like, we go through things and have pain or, like, different hard circumstances in our life to grow
Mhm,
somehow, whether that's, like,
mhm.
ourselves or someone in our family or someone around us. So, I don't know. I think
Yeah.
it sounds right. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And that was just kind of all things then that I was able to add into my book, Living Through the Journey. And that is, specifically for prospective adoptive parents who are going through the journey, either at the home study phase, uh, deep in the trenches, submitting their profile, trying to be matched with an expectant mom. It's for anyone. I break down the adoption process into 4 different steps. I interweave my story as well as other families I've worked with, plus just like tidbits, little tricks, things to make life easier during each step of the adoption journey. And then the big focus of it is journaling because that was something that I found life in when I was going through infertility and adoption. I always journaled every day, did different devotions, all the things. So that was just something important for me to bring back to other families. So most of the journal is made up of journal entry pages for them to refer to when they need, some funny little quote that will make them smile that day, or to keep track of their journey and think of like a positive something that happened that day and kind of just keep their mindset positive as they go through their adoption journey.
Love that you have that journaling, piece, and I know you had mentioned, just in our correspondence before that that was so big for you. That was so important to you to be journaling through your own, you know, journaling through your
Mhm.
own journey. Um And then especially I think as part of, when the disruption happened and all of that, and even I'm sure, like, as you're taking over the company and all of that, and like you said, I think that, all of these experiences really do help us to learn something even when they're painful, and I'm sure they had a huge impact on your business,
Yeah.
and in consulting, not an adoption agency for others. Do you wanna actually clarify that for our listeners?
Yes, I would love to. So, an adoption consultant is very different from an adoption agency. So, consultants, we work with prospective adoptive parents to help support them, educate them, guide them throughout the process. Each consultant out there does have, a different business model that they follow. So I'll just kind of explain mine. But we have relationships with agencies and attorneys out there, and they are the ones that are supporting the expectant mom on her adoption journey. So they reach out to us with these cases, and then we try and match our families with those moms. So we are more so an advocate for the adoptive family and kind of just come alongside them and make their experience, their journey, everything just easier because all of us have been there, done that. We have all the connections and we have just been through all the things to be able to relate to families. So we are much different than an agency. The agencies are working with moms. They can facilitate things. They handle like the living expenses for a mother. They are able to have consents to terminate rights, do all these different things. We do not do any of that. So that is kind of what sets us apart from an agency or attorney.
Yeah, I mean, that is honestly clarifying for the process that we walked through, and I won't share it all again here, but I think listeners have kind of followed along on our journey a little bit. Um, and it's helpful because I've had some of those questions along the way, just pursuing a private domestic adoption and wondered like who supports who, and like I've had some of those big questions, and so I think it's super clarifying to just see like this is the role of an agency, this is the role of a consultant. um Obviously
Mhm.
like you're all supporting the same outcome, like that you're all working towards like the same good. But yeah, I just
Yeah,
think like I've never heard someone explain it like that, so that's super helpful. But um
So, as someone who did foster care, and I really, you guys have learned alongside doing this podcast because I didn't pursue private adoption. So, I really didn't know much
mhm,
about it other than what Abby and our guests have shared.
yep.
So, um, okay. So, if I was going to pursue private adoption, would I go to you first or would I go to an agency first? And do I need both?
Great question. So it's really your preference on how much hand holding you would like throughout your adoption journey. We have some families that decide to work with us first thing. They haven't even done a home study. So, what we do is refer them to sometimes it's an agency. Usually, there are just like independent home study providers that do specifically just that. So we refer them to that home study provider, help them get like the educational hours they need, dependent on the state that they live in. And then, kind of check in on them throughout the home study and say, hey, are you getting these things done? Have you got your fingerprints done? And then when it comes to the like in-person home visit, people freak out about that. I don't blame them because I did too. Like 4 home studies in, I would still freak out about it. But, we kinda try to help calm their nerves, explain what to expect during that time, help calm them down a bit before they actually have that in-person meeting with the social worker. So, yes, if you are a person who wants that constant checking in, somebody kinda holding your hand throughout the process, then it's great. Come to us first thing. You'll definitely appreciate everything extra that we can do during that time. Otherwise, we do have families who are either home study ready and have been working with a agency, and they come to us and want to like broaden their search for adoption, because that's kind of the plus of working with a consultant is it is really broadening your net, because instead of just one agency with these few expectant moms that they're working with, you're opened up to expectant moms across the states. So that's most likely going to get you matched a lot quicker. So
Hmm.
we do have some families that they're home study approved, decide to broaden their search or want to work with a consultant first thing. They then reach out to us and decide to move forward. So are you a person that likes to have your hand held or not?
I think that's so good. That's super helpful. Do you share a timeline? So if someone comes to you, and says, "I want to work with you to pursue an adoption," what are some of like maybe the qualifiers or things that you would ask them in order to answer the question of how long will this take? Like when will I be matched?
Yes. Yeah. That's a huge question. Everyone, that's usually always the first question, which
Mhm.
I don't blame anyone at all for that. So yeah, what is really going to be dependent on most likely the amount of time it's going to take you to get matched is what your preferences are. There are some agencies out there who don't allow you to have preferences, specifically on like gender, substance exposures, race, all the things. And that's fine. Everyone operates in their own way and it works well. But with us, you do have the option to have preferences. So let's say you are fully open, girl or boy, any race, you're fully prepared to parent a child of a different race. You're open to any type of substance exposures and open to any type of adoption relationship. That most likely is going to get you matched really quickly. It's, because you are submitting your profile to more cases, which in turn usually works out faster. But the families that have a lot of preferences, specifically surrounding gender and substance exposures, that causes a lot of extra waiting. Because, there are some cases where families are reviewing it and the gender is unknown because either the mom doesn't want to find out or the ultrasound tech couldn't see the gender. So many different factors come into that. But, for a family that only wants a girl, they're not going to submit to a case of an unknown gender because it's a 50-50 chance. So that does limit you. And then as far as like substance exposures go, that's also a limiting factor. Um, that's kind of why I firmly believe in like education on that front, specifically, what the different exposures are, what their potential side effects are, short term and long term. Because a lot of families are scared of that. And I don't blame them. I was the same. And then, we had a child that fell into our lap that we had no control over what any exposures were that he had before he came to us. And here we are living life just fine. And so that's kind of what got us to open up a bit on that. We realized that, hey, it's okay. Like if there is an exposure or a family history of something, like we will make it through. It's our child. We'll do what we need to do. Um, so, if you are a family that is uncomfortable with exposures or mental health history or anything like that, my advice is to do the research. And then if you still feel uncomfortable with it, then that's okay. I would never want a family to, just start throwing their profile out there, submitting to cases that they're not actually fully comfortable with, because that's not good for anyone in the end. But yeah, it all comes down to preferences on how long it's going to take you to match typically.
So if you're someone like, I've decided today that I want to adopt, that's how new I am. I have no preferences. What kind of timeline would you give them?
Oh, so anywhere from about 7 to 9 months, I would say,
Okay.
from the time that you start your adoption journey. So,
Yeah, I think that's actually surprising to me. I think, well, I know a lot of people, I have a good friend right now that's considering adoption, and time is of the essence for their family for a variety of reasons. And
mhm,
they're thinking like 2 to 3 years.
yeah,
And I don't know their preferences or if they have them, but that's encouraging to hear that it could be sooner than that.
yes. Yep. Uh, and I think that is, kind of just, I don't know if stigma is the right word, but a stigma that just surrounds adoption too, that it is going to take you 2, 3, 4 years. And I feel like nowadays that's not necessarily the case. When I always like to say, I can't tell fate, so I don't know for sure what your journey is going to look like. But most of the time, families are matching a lot quicker and bringing home their baby a lot quicker than that. So,
Yeah, and I think your model of the consultant, it lends itself to, just as you said, like, you have a wider net, you're able to, you know, to match those families a little bit quicker than like one. I mean, I'll just share one agency that we had talked to at one point. They said you likely won't even reach the top of the list to be considered by a birth mom for 2 to 3 years. And that's just
wow.
consideration. That's not even, you know, I mean, obviously they can't guarantee anything. And they said,
Mhm.
you could come up sooner if someone asks specifically for your situation. But I just remember hearing that
Yeah.
and thinking that, like, my son would be 7 at the time of even being considered, and, like, yeah, just wild. So, um,
It is.
yeah, it's just cool to know that, like, there's possibilities of very quick matches. And I mean, I say quick, like
Mhm.
7 to 9 months, that feels quick.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
Well, I mean,
that's
that's
super.
like you were pregnant. I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah. Yep. Just like a
really,
pregnancy. Hmm.
which can
yeah,
feel very fast. You're pregnant,
yeah,
and all of a sudden you're like, "They're
I'm
here
sure.
already. What do I do?"
Yeah. Was not prepared for this.
What do you mean you weren't prepared? You had 9 months. Um, yeah, no, that's good.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, so another question would be around finances. So, and we can kind of, if you want to keep the same like comparison of agency versus consultant, or just what you kind of counsel
Hmm.
and help families through, like, what does it look like from a financial standpoint? What do I need to bring to the table at the beginning versus what is it going to look like over the course of my adoption?
Yeah. Finances is another huge thing. Um, and there are so many different factors that go into that. So to kind of start out, what we typically see is the average budget ranging anywhere from 45 to 55,000 on average. And what that's going to include is everything for the adoption. Like after you've already paid for your home study, if you work with a consultant, after you've paid for the consultant fee, it is going to be everything that pertains to that specific expectant mom case. So, any living expenses, agency fees, attorney fees, all of that is lumped into that price. Now, yes, we definitely do see cases that are 60 to 70,000. Really where what makes up the range in that is the agency that it's coming from, how long the match is, because longer the match, the more living expenses you're going to be paying. So there's a lot of different factors that go into that. Um, to kind of help families navigate the financial side of things, I highly suggest that you apply for grants. That is, I feel like, something that people don't talk about enough. It's not, I don't know. I don't know if it just seems daunting and people don't want to put in all the work to apply for a grant because there is a lot that goes into it. But if you are struggling to get your adoption budget all together, I highly suggest that you get your home study done and then start applying for those grants because those are going to help you in the long run. Um, and then specifically with us, you could be asked to pay like that full lump sum up front. Sometimes it's broken down into payments. It really just depends on the case and what's going on with that scenario. So,
I feel like that's so good for families to know. I'm in a lot of adoption Facebook groups and things like this, and I feel like I see so many people that I look at this and I'm like, "You're getting scammed." Like, "What?" I'm like, I don't think it's supposed to cost that much, and
Mhm.
so it's nice to, like, have just a general idea of, like, "Hey, if you are getting quoted $120,000, that's, like, a real number that I have seen, you something is wrong." You know?
Yeah, that's crazy. And I feel like that is I don't know, that is kinda common for that to happen just because I feel like there are so many people out there that don't know. They don't know any difference. They think 120,000 is normal. It's definitely not.
So a common question that I get from people are about disruptions, which I feel like you unfortunately have personal experience with this, and then I'm sure you have professional experience as well.
Mhm,
So questions that I get about disruption are, like how often does it happen? What happens to my money if that happens? Like,
mhm.
can you give us just a little bit of insight or what you would tell a prospective adoptive parent about that?
Yeah, so that is something a huge factor that plays into the finances because unfortunately there are some families out there that the money that they have is their one and only shot. And so a lot of them are very scared to pull the trigger on moving forward with any type of case because, a failure could happen and there's no knowing if it is going to happen or not. So with that, when you are working with a consultant, specifically with us, we provide that information up front to families on what it would look like if a failure happened, specifically how much money you could potentially be lose out on, how that agency is going to handle that failed placement moving forward. And so we try to be fully transparent with that with our families because it is a huge factor in all of it. Um, Specifically, what the numbers look like is anywhere from $5,000 up to $25,000 being at risk. And it really just depends on those living expenses that you're paying and how the provider handles the adoption failure and if they're going to give any type of refund or not. As far as how often failures happen, it's hard to say, to kinda give a ballpark range because I know a lot of people are number people. Last year, specifically for our company, we experienced about a 10% failure rate, and that is only specific to us. I have no idea what it is for agencies, other consultants. I'm guessing probably around the same, just because there are the times where you don't see it coming, any of that. When a family does experience a failure, it's hard because a lot of times, yeah, nobody saw it coming. It is a very emotional decision that the mom is making. And at the end of the day, you are relying on human emotion. Once she has that baby and she meets them, she once again has to decide, like, is this something that I truly want to move forward with or not? And there are times where I don't blame them one bit for, choosing to parent, like, a mom should always have that choice, and so, I think to make it easier for adoptive parents to handle that outcome, is to look at it that way, that the child isn't yours until that paperwork is signed and the revocation period is up, but then also look at it as this is the mother's child and how would you feel no matter what the circumstances are, how would you feel if you had to make that decision? And so I feel like families handle situations like that a lot better when they come into it realistically, and so that's just a little tidbit for everyone to kind of think about when they are putting themselves out there or moving forward with a match. Like, yes, it could always happen. No one knows. No one can give you a guarantee. But just look at the expectant mom as a real person and understand her emotions when it comes to that.
So, as you walk with, a family who has been matched and then,
Mhm.
is walking through the pregnancy period with the birth mom, like, what are some of the ways that you encourage communication or like building relationship? I mean, I know every situation is going to be very different. Um, But, like, if I called you and was like, "Hey, I want to get in touch with the birth mom, and I want to see how she's doing," or "I haven't heard from her in a while," or whatever
Mhm,
it might be. What does your
mhm.
role
Yep.
look like, and what's, like, some encouragement that you give to your adoptive parents?
Yeah. So us and the agency that's involved, if the mom is wanting that open relationship, we always highly encourage that a family follow her lead on that. Because, nowadays I feel like it's proven that an open adoption or at least some type of communication in the future is what's best for everyone involved. I'm very glad that we've kind of moved away from the fully closed adoption and people kind of are opening up more to these different types of relationships. When a family first matches with a mom, we always just take it as, hey, like when you do this first conversation with her, it is like you're on a blind date. You know a little bit about her, but it's still going to be real awkward, especially if you meet her in person instead of just doing like a phone conversation. So when it comes to that, my advice is to always be open and honest and go into it saying, hey, like, I am scared about this. I am very nervous, but I'm grateful to be here and learn more about you, have the opportunity to build this relationship. Because 9 times out of 10, the mom is probably a lot more anxious and nervous than what the adoptive family is. And so I think just putting that out on the table really kind of just lessens the pressure, even playing fields. It just makes it go a lot better. When we're working with families, it's so funny. Every family always is just so scared of that, like first in person interaction or phone call, and it's just totally freaked out. And every time we say, it is like this blind date. Be yourselves. They're going to love you. They already chose you for a reason. And afterwards, every time, every person is like, oh my gosh, that was amazing. Like, we had the best time. We had so much in common. Yes, I know. um, but as they continue to move throughout the match, just continuing that open dialogue. Like if you're comfortable sharing your phone number with the mom, that's always something we suggest. Or a lot of families will do like a Google Voice account. That is a phone number that you can give to the mom that's just specific for your communication. But just continuing to leave that door open, checking in on her, learning everything you can about her during this time, because later on, you don't know what that relationship is going to look like once the baby's here. And this may be your only chance to learn about your child's mother or father or both. And then, that chance may be gone after placement. So take advantage of it now. uh, and then as far as post placement, after everything is done in the hospital, like, perfect scenario would be you get to spend time with the mom in the hospital, you get to build this great relationship, but that doesn't always happen. So, moving forward, my advice is to always follow through with what you've promised as far as communication goes. If you are responsible for milestone updates, make sure you're doing those. If you have more of a open relationship, it's okay for you to check in on her. She also wants to know that like you're excited to have this child, you are enjoying this child. Like sharing those photos is okay to do. Most likely the moms are wanting to see that. And then as far as like navigating when they don't reply to you, I feel like this happens a lot after placement has happened. And my advice with that is to, once again, look at her as a person and kind of compare to you. Like, how would you handle that situation? A lot of times, obviously, I don't want to speak for every birth mom, but I feel like a lot of times, it is very emotional, and they decide to kind of just back away from the whole situation and not have communication during that time, because that is what makes it easier for them to process. And so, yeah, there will be a lot of times, I have experienced it myself, where the birth mom will kind of recluse herself from everything and not respond to any of your messages. And so my advice is to just continue to do what you promised, continue to reach out. It's always up to her on when she wants to come back around, but I feel like you are doing your child the best that you can when you are still like extending that branch of communication.
And of course, be journaling and living through a journey while you're going through all of this.
Right? Yes. Yep.
Do you have any specific, like, prompts in your book about these, or is the journal just kind of like blank space?
So there's a little of both in there. When a family is going through, like, submitting their profile to cases, there's a whole section for cases on my heart. And so they can write in there maybe the mom's name. And, if you're a person who prays for people, that's a perfect place to put all that down. Or if you're just a person who sends good vibes to someone, you can still write their name down and do it that way. So it's kind of made for everyone. You can track cases that way, kind of write down like the outcomes if you know. And then moving forward, there is tidbits of information about like how to handle those conversations, like that first in-person meeting,
Oh, cool.
and how to navigate it after the fact, on if, the mom chooses to like close the adoption at birth, or if she is fully open and you continue this open adoption, just advice on how to handle that. And then there is space in there for just extra writing, and there's like a letter to my child, which I feel like is a good place for you to write down like everything before, like what you learn about their mom, and your hopes and your dreams for them. Really, you could use that space for anything.
That is so neat. I love it. I actually had a journal. I'm stepping out of the prospective parent hat that I was wearing, but I had a journal someone gave to me from another company, and it was
Uh-huh.
mostly blank. And I was like, I don't really know what to do with this. Like I would like jot some things down, but I think it would be
Hmm.
it would have been so helpful for me to have something like that where it's
Hmm.
actual, because when you're walking through this process, you just want, like, tangible, actionable help.
Right.
That's what you want, because
Mhm.
there's
Yeah.
a lot out there that's just, like, so unknown. So I think would have been cool.
Yes.
And one cool thing that, like, in those blank spaces, and maybe you've already thought about this, but one of the things I did with my little journals I had one for each of my girls, and I brought them to the
Mhm.
NICU with me because the girls were in the NICU for almost a month. And I actually had their nurses write
Oh,
I
like little
love that.
notes to them. And it's so sweet to look back on, because now, like, they were the women who were and the men who were caring for these girls for the first
Yeah.
28, 27, 28 days of their life, and the people I was spending so much time with. I shared their
Hmm.
story as much as I knew, all that. So I really treasure those little, like, extra note pages that I was like, "Hey, can you just write a little note?" It's really sweet.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's a genius idea. No, I had not thought of that, but now I'm going to suggest it.
Second edition. For your second edition, you could do that.
Uh-huh.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, as we kind of wrap up a little tonight, can you just share with us, you know, a little bit, tie it back together to kind of like your personal experience, as an adoptive mom of three, and, what made you want to write this book? Um,
Mhm.
yeah, like just
Yeah.
just bring it home for us.
Yes, of course. So, definitely my main motivation, it started out as, what can I provide to the clients that we're working with to make their adoption journey easier? Like, when I first thought of this whole thing, I was literally just thinking of like, okay, I'm gonna create like this little Canva document that we can send out to our families. And then I actually started like writing stuff down, and I started, breaking down the process and just sharing advice for each step. And I was like, huh, I mean, this is actually kind of legit. Maybe I should turn this into something more. And so then I really took a step back and thought about, okay, what did I need during that time? And what were the things that no one told me and my husband about when we started the adoption process? What was like the real raw emotions that we had that no one ever really talks about with everything? I feel like, adoption can just quickly be turned into like this beautiful, exciting adventure, this beautiful time in everyone's lives. And there is a lot that goes into it before then. And it's very emotional, and it can be very isolating. And so just bringing this journal to life, it was another way to help remind families everywhere that they're not alone in the adoption journey, and that the feelings they're having, the different experiences that they're having, there are others out there too that are facing the same thing, and they've survived it. They've brought home their beautiful babies, and it all worked out great. But it definitely is a journey to get there. Um, Kind of the title where that came from, Living Through the Journey, is just my belief that you should live through really any journey that you go through in life. You cannot put your life on hold to get through the process of infertility or adoption, or like the first few years of parenthood. You cannot put life on hold. You have to continue to do what fills your cup, what's best for you. And so this journal is just kind of a reminder for all of that.
That's beautiful. Like, that's
Mhm.
so great, and I love that. I feel like it's such a great resource that kinda piggybacks on even this resource as a podcast,
Mhm.
we're all out to just encourage one another, answer all the questions that everybody, has and can't find, or Google just send you down some weird spiral. Um, so I love that you've created that. Can you tell us where can our listeners find this?
Yeah, so it is on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and then it is now on our A Step Ahead Adoption website. So they can just go to a stepaheadadoption.com, and there's a whole page there. They can purchase directly through the site or go through Amazon is pretty easy too.
Awesome. That's so good. Well, I hope that anyone who is in this phase right now can definitely go and get the journal. Or if you know of someone who's getting ready to start their adoption journey or thinking about it, it's a great gift. The holidays are coming up. So something like this would be a great gift too. That's kind of what's on my mind right now.
Oh, yeah, that is a good gift.
Yeah.
All right, well, we will add the links at the bottom. So anyone that just wants an easy click, just go to the bottom of the show notes and you can click that link and purchase it there. And Valerie, thank you so much for being with us today. It's been so great to talk to you, hear your story, and get all of our questions answered. Hopefully, our listeners too.
Yeah.
And then, guys, if anything we've said today has made you laugh, cry, or feel seen, please feel free to share this with a friend. And as always, we're happy you're here, and we will see you guys next week.